Hello, welcome to darkironphoenix's video tutorials. I'm going to be doing a bit of a special today on the top 5 common mistakes that people make. Now, a lot of people, when they start mapping, they either just dive in and get to know the program just by messing around, and some people have a look on YouTube, go through tutorials. Sometimes, you know, you can get some good tutorials, and sometimes they teach some bad habits or don't actually explain why you shouldn't be doing things that they say that you shouldn't be doing. So I'm just gonna go through almost like my top 5 of things that I've seen, and sort of questions that we get asked all the time on FacePunch. So let's start with aligning levels and overlapping blocks. Now, when you're creating a block, let's just clone this one for a minute, you'll see that I've got it in a power of 2, and all the grid sizes are in powers of 2. Source loves it, and all the textures are in powers of 2. So just kind of try and keep on grid as much as possible, because although well, it'll just make life a lot easier. You know, if I want to move it there and keep it aligned with this wall and the floor, it's just dead easy to do, because you just snap everything to the grid. You can move things, wrong button, you can move things off the grid if you want, like that, but when it comes to moving things up, butting up things up close next to it, you can make things say 12.9 if you really want to, and the source engine, it won't necessarily persecute for doing it, but it won't really like it that much. So try and keep things as power of 2 and on grid as much as you can for source engine's sake. Right, the other thing that I should go over is Z fighting again. Now, I went over this in my first tutorial on the door very briefly, but I didn't really show you quite what it looks like, so now I will. That's what it looks like, and that will happen in game as well, and it just looks so bad. So try and keep your faces sort of away from one another. Also, overlapping brushes, I mean, the source engine won't particularly like it very much. You won't be able to see it, not like it very much, apart from the Z fighting, of course, which you will be able to see, and it looks atrocious. So try not to do that sort of thing. I'm going to go over carving next, because it's something that does crop up quite a lot on the FacePunch forums, and although we tell you exactly why you shouldn't be doing it on the FacePunch forums, other tutorials may sort of gloss over the fact of why you shouldn't be doing it. And I think it's quite important to see exactly why you shouldn't do it. So here we have our thing, and as we don't have portals yet in this map, we need a door, otherwise you can't get in and out, which is a kind of problem if you really need to go to the toilet inside. So there are numerous ways to make a door. First, obviously, is just to clip. So I'm using that tool down there, and I'm just drawing lines, and if you, I'll now go here. So if you want to cut it and keep these 2 parts, both of these need to be white. If you click it again, you'll see that these bits turn red. These bits will be removed if you then hit enter, like I do now, and it's gone. But you've got a nice doorway there that you can then dress up with sort of door frames and things. So that's the right way to do it. The other way is you can just make these brushes. That's also fine. You can also carve, and I'm going to show you now what carve does. So I want to carve a door through here. So you go up to tools and you hit carve. as you see, it's created a hole through here. The problem is that when you do a carve, and you've done it on a block like this one, which I'll do now. Just resize it so that it's an awkward shape. So I'm going to do tools carve here. It hasn't cut it particularly well, and it's grouped it. Now the reason why you shouldn't use carve is not because you can't resize it properly, because you can. You go to select on select objects, and you can select them individually. The reason why you don't use carve is, as I will show you now once I've got rid of the horrendous carve. Right, I want to create a hole in this floor, and I want it to be circular. So I'm going to give it 16 sides. Make sure the brush is like that. So we've got a nice cylinder here, it's got very smooth sides. And we're going to carve. That's what happens, which is why we don't use carve ever. A better way to do that would be to use clip and vertex manipulator, which is that one there, the vertex tool. Vertex manipulate everything down using probably 1 unit, but that's just horrendous because it just carves everything in that brush. You've got no control over carve at all, which is why we don't use it ever. So yeah, just learn to use the clip tool, and most of your worries will go away just from using that. Water is next on my list. Dead easy to make. Create a block, no draw, the whole lot, and then select top face and give it a water texture, or a toxic texture as I've done on that one. You'll see here you've got the DX7 water here. Water looks terrible, and don't use DX7 water unless you've only got DX7 card, which most people have DX9 cards now, so there's no real reason to be using DX7 unless your computer really is that old. Yeah, that's really old computer if you're still using that. The other thing you've got here is Dev Water 2, like all the Dev Waters here. Expensive textures, which means you'll be getting very, very good reflections off them, and the cheap ones, which basically means that you're not going to be getting such good reflections off them. The reason why you'd use cheap textures is if you've got moving water, or you've got water that's on different levels, because you can't have expensive water on different levels, or moving water on with an expensive texture on the top. Yeah, so that's water. It's nice and quick. And if you look at my previous tutorials, you'll be able to see that in game. What's my next on my list? Objects, types, different situations I've got here. Now this was something that was briefly gone over in a tutorial, naming no names, of course, and it didn't really describe quite the exact mechanics of it and things you can do, so I'll go over it now. So I'll press Alt Enter on here. So I've got this as a prop dynamic at the moment. Now I'm unsure as to whether this is actually a prop dynamic, so if you go to the Info tab, see, it is actually a dynamic model. However, if I was to go to something like Cage Light, it says that it can be a dynamic or a static. Now if you stick it as a static, it's going to throw up a load of errors in your compile log and then not actually show it in game. It's a bug that seems to be lingering around the model browser at the moment. I don't know if Valve ever plan on fixing it, but basically it means that it's got no static information, So just stick it as a dynamic and you'll get rid of those issues. The other thing you can do is, if you really want, say, that bed to be a physics, you can make it a physics override, and that will give it physics information. However, I just want it to be a dynamic. So, and that's props, I think. Obviously, any questions, please ask. We only learn by asking questions, after all, or messing around until it sort of works. Right, last thing on my list is skyboxes. Skyboxes and generic lighting. Now, if you don't put a light environment or any lights, like light entities, in the map, it will just render it what we call full bright. So everything will be the same, lit the same. There won't be any shadows at all. If you want your map to look good, make sure you add your light entities. Mess around with them until they look about right. You shouldn't be getting any glare off textures. So you don't want these rammed up against a wall or a ceiling or a floor. Otherwise you'll get very nasty glare effects. There's loads of tutorials around there about how to do good lighting. Check them out. There's loads of stuff like on interlopers and half-wit. So check those out and just kind of find a lighting style that you like. For environmental lighting though, it's dead easy to do. You've got a light environment here, and this will cast environmental light. The light is generated not from the entity but from the skybox itself, so you can put this in a small room and it will still cast the right amount of light. And to do our skyboxes, we go to this site here. Now this is the Valve developer community, and this is their sky list, and it's all the skies that are used in game. And we've got the Counter-Strike ones here. And this is the name of the sky up here. So I am going to pick Portal Sky because I'm working in Portal. If there is a Portal Sky, I'm not actually sure if there is. Okay, there isn't. Any Half-Life 2 ones will do then if you're working in Portal. And the one we want, I'm going to have this one here, Sky Day. So you just copy whatever this is, then you go to map, go to map properties, Skybox texture name, and then just change that to whatever it says in the sky list. And then to get your lighting right, press Alt Enter on your light entity. And then you fill these out according to whatever this says. So ideal sun angle, pitch, so, and that's light. So now when you go into game, it will be the right sky and it will be the right colour and brightness for that lighting. So skybox. So yeah, that's pretty much the top 5 mistakes that people make. Hopefully now you won't be using carve so much. And you'll know about Z fighting and all sorts of crazy things like that. So yeah, there's no real excuse not to use lighting in released maps. And really, before you release a map, just run through it, have a look for things like Z fighting, problems with lighting, anything like that, and then just fix them. Because in the end, if you release a map that's good or reasonable, then people are more likely to take you seriously when you release your next maps, and also then you've got a base from which to improve on. which is always good, rather than just being the sort of person that doesn't put any lighting in, and every map you release they just say, need to fix your lighting. If you've got lighting there and maybe it's a bit bland, people can help you then improve on your work. The last thing I will just say quickly about lighting, always have a source for your lighting. So I've got these light models here, so they'll cast the light, or they'll look like they're casting the light. Because if you just have a light entity just hanging around in the middle of nowhere without any real source, it looks a bit dull and bland. There are little tricks you can use. Mushrooms can cast green light if you want, for example, like in a cave. So there are little tricks and things you can learn with lighting. But for now, I hope that's helped you a bit, and I hope your maps improve because of it. Thank you very much for watching.